All right, guys. I'm going to get started just because we are 5 minutes past the start time, and I don't want to waste everybody who showed up on time, their time. Cool. So what I wanted to talk about today is your funnel and how do you move people through it. Now, I know that most of you are probably familiar with this concept by now, funnel. And I know that you understand that during the funnel, like different stages mean different things. But I think it's been a big mystery. How do you move people from one step to the next? So I'm kind of going to break it into two sections today. First, we're going to quickly talk about what a funnel is again. And it's going to be very brief because there's a separate video on funnels. But then from that, I just want to quickly touch on every stage in the funnel. But then from that, we'll transition into how do you actually do it in Facebook? How do you move them along? So buckle up, this is going to be quite a ride. All right, so let me share my quick slideshow here on the screen so you can see. I don't have a slideshow for the whole thing because the second part will be, will actually be working in Facebook's Ads Manager section. So yeah, the slides are only for the first part. All right, cool. So hopefully you guys can see my, my screen. And, you know, I'm not big on pretty presentations, so it's just a plain white background presentation. You know, I just want to focus on the material. Cool. So Facebook funnels, how do you move a person through the steps? So let's first talk about the steps. And I'm about to show you something, guys, and don't be like, whoa, what just happened? Because we've always talked about a funnel as a 3-step process, right? Even in Facebook, they're broken into 3 sections. You have awareness, consideration, and conversion. And I wanted to show you that there is a different way to look at it. So I'm using a 4-step funnel, right? So don't be like, oh, like what the heck just happened? There's 4 steps in this funnel. It's okay. So marketing theory is more or less split into 2 camps of, you know, camp 1 believes there's 3 steps, camp 2 believes there's 4 steps. In reality, the number of steps doesn't really matter because they still break down to 3 mindsets. So you can have a funnel with 177 steps, but they're still going to break into the 3 stages: awareness, consideration, and conversion. So just because this funnel on the screen has 4 steps, it still falls within the 3 major areas of mindset. And it's really important to understand that in your funnel, so like in your funnel, there is each stage represents a different mindset for people. Like they're thinking differently during that step. Sorry, I got distracted with a comment. Each step, you have to be, your marketing material has to match the mindset of the person in that step. What do I mean by that? So for example, let me bring, you know, I always like to fall back on a dating example because it's just such an easy way to illustrate it. But when 2 people meet for the first time, they're in a different mindset than they are when they meet, you know, after being together for a year, right? If you meet a person today, it will be really odd to ask them if they want to marry you because they're not in that mindset. Like they're in a different place mentally. But after dating somebody for a year, it's normal to ask if they want to marry you because the mindset has changed, right? And when your mindset changes, things that look unreasonable may all of a sudden be reasonable, right? If you're making $20,000 a year as a salary and you're really broke, and somebody's talking to you about buying a Bentley, you're not in that mindset. It doesn't seem feasible. It seems ridiculous. It seems like, you know, crazy. But if you're making $1 million a year and somebody's talking to you about buying Bentley, all of a sudden that's feasible. So it's like that. So let's real quick look at this funnel that I put here on the screen. So you have awareness. This is the initial stage. They don't know who you are. This is just, they're just learning that you exist. Interest is like that stage between awareness and consideration. You've picked their interest. They now know who you are, but they're not ready to give you lots of money, nor do they consider you an expert yet. Decision is essentially that stage where you've proven yourself to them. They now respect you as the expert in the wedding industry, and they can see themselves giving you thousands of dollars to perform a service, but they're not there quite yet to buy. And action, that's where we want them at. Action is they're ready to hand over that check. They're ready to get started. And so you can see that even though this funnel has 4 steps, it is still the same concept of progressing through different mental states. So before I keep running forward, are there any questions about this? Because this illustration of a funnel and this basic understanding of different mindsets is absolutely crucial for you to be able to run with this. You know, it's understanding how fundamentally somebody views the world when they're in a different step of the funnel. So any questions about this before I keep rolling forward? All right, so I didn't see any questions, so I'm gonna keep running forward here. All right, so step 1, awareness. Here are some characteristics of that step. During that step, you're gonna have cold traffic. Cold means they have no idea who you are, and they have no respect for you, no nothing. They have no idea who you are. They're completely cold. Another characteristic of the stage is they do not know you yet. Well, I just said that pretty much. The goal here, when you are on this stage, you have only one goal, and that's to introduce your brand, right? People create an ad that goes straight to a booking page. That's a problem because you haven't introduced yourself yet, and you're already going straight for booking. So in this stage, they're not ready for anything but an introduction. Imagine that you've just walked into a party and you walk up to a person that you've never met before. What are you gonna do? Introduce yourself. That's pretty much all you can do at this point. And so that's the goal of your ads that are in the awareness stage. You just wanna introduce yourself. The type of ads that you could run. You could run articles, videos, galleries. So let me give you an example. An article about planning a wedding in Iceland would be a good way to introduce yourself. A video where you talk about choosing the right time for your ceremony so you have good lighting is a good way to introduce yourself. Maybe you're targeting somebody who's gonna get married at the beautiful Vizcaya Museum in Miami, and you're just telling them, hey, if you're getting married at Vizcaya, I've shot a wedding there, here's a full gallery so you can see how Vizcaya looks on the wedding day, or once it's all set up for a wedding. These are all ads that would work well at this stage. Now, what do they all have in common? Well, they all have in common is their commitment level. The commitment level is very low. Think about it. If you don't know me at all, right? And I walk up to you and I say, hey, I know you're into Facebook ads and you're like curious about this. Here's an article that talks about Facebook ads. You don't have to give an email address. You don't have to, like, there's no barrier. You click on the link and the article is on your screen. You can read it. You can leave it anytime you want to leave. So there's really no commitment here. Even if you end up clicking on that link, you can just go ahead and leave as soon if you don't like what you find. So this is a good way to start with a stranger because a stranger may be guarded, right? They may not trust you or whatever, just because we live in a time where there is too much bad marketing, or what I like to call it spam. But because this is such a low commitment, they literally don't have to give you anything in exchange, and they don't even have to interact with you if they don't want to. That's why it works, because it's such a low commitment. So you definitely want to keep your ads at this stage as low commitment as possible. Think about it this way. What can you say to them that clearly signifies that there is going to be no pressure, there's going to be no time wasted, no money spent, like really easygoing, like totally chill. That's where you want to be at this stage. Before I move on to the next stage, any questions about this stage? All right, so I see a question here from Claudia, and she says, how would you target someone that was getting married at a specific place? Would you geo-target the location, as I'm guessing they'd have visited it, but then you'd also get people who had visited and then didn't decide to book? Claudia, there's a separate video under the units about targeting a specific building, like a venue, for example. However, there isn't a way to target just one person. So Facebook doesn't want you targeting just one person. So if you target the building, yes, you're gonna end up targeting other people who are irrelevant to you, that's just the marketing casualties. There's nothing you can do about it. If you're going to retarget a page on your website, same can be said as true. Some people who've come to your website have zero interest. For example, I may come to your website just to check it out because you asked me a question about something, and now you're retargeting me. Clearly, I'm not interested in your service because I'm already married. I have no plans of getting a divorce, and I have no vow renewal coming up. Like there's no need for your services in my life, but you'd still be retargeting me. You have no way around it. That's just how it works. There used to be a way to target one person. Facebook took it away last year, and I don't believe it's coming back just because there was a lot of controversy around it. Ritz is asking, can you buy articles? The answer is yes, resounding yes, you can buy articles. However, there's my word of caution for you. Buyer be aware. If you buy articles that are already written and are just openly sold on the market, you're making a huge mistake. Why is that? The reason is twofold. Number one, if an article is available to be bought from a website, then it's being sold to more than just one person. And so your article is being published on 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 other websites. Ask any SEO expert what that does to your SEO when your article is published on 100 other websites, right? So that's one problem. The second problem here is branding. Your branding is such a precious resource, and speaking in a canned voice that's not yours is a huge mistake. So what I would suggest to you, Ritz, is instead of buying a pre-written article, hire a writer to write an article for you, specifically for you. And I'll give you an example. I just hired a writer. She's fantastic. Her name is Hannah. She's absolutely amazing. And she's written for me an article that I asked for. I literally did nothing. I just told her what I want the article to be about. And like we communicated for maybe 10 minutes. And then she's written this beautiful article that I'm about to probably post today or tomorrow. And it only cost me $85. Now, yes, $85 is a lot of money. However, consider it an investment into your marketing, right? In the grand scheme of things, if this article books me one job, if you pay a writer $85 and that books you one wedding, that's a beautiful ROI in my book. And that article is yours now. It can book you another wedding and another wedding year over year. It's published on your website. It'll get indexed by the search engines. And it's well spent $85 to $100. Do yourself a favor. Don't buy pre-written material. Pay a writer to write it for you. Yes, it takes a little longer. Yes, it's a little more expensive, but the quality is completely different. There's nothing to be compared. Okay, Claudia is saying, I guess though it'd be a reminder to people who need your services, but right, yeah, you know, who knows? Maybe these other people that see your ad, Claudia, they may not be getting married at that specific venue, but it's still brand awareness. But right, they're more useless type of ads for these other people. You're specifically trying to book people who are getting married there, and that's okay. You have to show your ad to 30 people, and then you book one. That's still, the numbers still work out because impressions on Facebook are so cheap. So even if you have to show your ad to 30 different people just for the one of them be correct, you're still only paying like a couple of bucks. So it's well worth it. Yeah, Elizabeth, I highly recommend, especially if you're not in love with writing. Like I am not in love with writing. Having a good writer is a blessing. Like I am so happy that I found Hannah. How do you find writers like that? Joanna, that's an excellent question. I happened to get lucky here, and I really didn't do anything to find Hannah. A friend of mine found her and then recommended her to me. So huge thanks to my friend Maddie, who found Hannah and then connected us. But honestly, there's plenty of places. Number one, Facebook. Facebook groups, just like we photographers have groups, writers have groups. Number two, Upwork. Upwork is great to finding a writer. Also, you can use textbroker.com. That one is good to finding a writer. But be patient. Please understand that when you're hiring a writer, very rarely the first one will be the right one. Hannah is writer number 170, well, not 174, but I don't know. I've hired 3 or 4 before, and it didn't work out because I didn't like how they wrote. It didn't sound like my tone. Hannah nailed it. So be prepared. It's like hiring an employee. You know, you're gonna You're going to use one, not like it, change to the next one. It's going to take a little tweaking. But once you find the right writer and it's working, think about it. You can work with them for the next 30 years. So it's just a one-time process to find it, to find him or her. Alicia is asking, what about a venue you've never shot at? There are other strategies. This video is not about it, so I'm not going to go there just because that could be a whole separate video. But Alicia, watch the video that I have on targeting just one building, and I do bring it up in that video. And then if it becomes a big topic in the group, we can also dedicate a separate video to that. I just don't want this Facebook Live to run into like 3-4 hours length. That's why I'm going to try and keep us on topic. All right, guys, I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep moving here. Where is... Wait, I don't even know how much behind I am here. All right, guys, can somebody type if you can hear me or see what I'm doing? Because, oh, there you go. Okay, it's moving. I wasn't sure if it was moving. Never mind. We're good. All right, cool. So I'm going to get back to the presentation. It just looked like, awesome. Yeah, it looked like something didn't connect there because I'm looking at the screen that you guys are seeing and something seemed odd, but okay. Yeah, it just seems like the video and the sound is not jiving together. Okay, hopefully this is working right. I'm gonna just keep going. All right, so step 2 in your funnel, which we identified as interest. This one is slightly warmer. So at this point, you've already warmed them up a bit at the first stage. So they kind of know who you are. They sort of remember you, but not really. And when they see you, they remember who you are. But if you're not in front of their eyes, you're not in their memory. So in other words, they're like that person that you've met and you're not thinking about because you've only met them once. But if you run into them on the street, you can be like, oh yeah, that's right, that's Mike. I did meet him at that party. But it's not like you're walking around and thinking, hi, I wonder how Mike is doing. So you know what, it's like, I guess what you would call acquaintances, or not even, you know, like you literally, at this stage, they know you exist, but you're not at the forefront of their mind. All right, so the goal here is to reintroduce your brand a few more times. What we're trying to do here is move from a place where they know you exist, but not really, to a place where they know you exist. Like they don't have to see you to remember that you exist. You've carved a little tiny piece in their mind. That's the purpose of this stage. And the types of ads you're gonna run here are the same as in the first step. So like, if in the first step you've given them an article about, 10 questions you must ask a wedding photographer before hiring them, then maybe in this step you give them another article and another article on different topics, but you're not changing the format. They are not ready to be giving you their email address yet. They're not ready to be booking you yet. This is simply you repeating step 1 a few more times. That's all this is. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to repeat step 2 in such a way that, you're trying to repeat step 1 in such a way where you are carving your place into their conscious mind, right? So that's the goal here. You're trying to give more and more value. Now, the commitment level here is small, right? They're willing to give you some time because they respect you now, but they're not going to be giving you an email address. They're not going to be hiring you. They're certainly not going to be jumping on the phone with you yet. They're willing to give you 10 to 30 minutes to look at whatever you're giving them. An article, a gallery, a slideshow, a video, they'll give you that. And no, they're not going to watch an 1.5 hour long video, but they'll watch a 10-minute video. This is where you reinforce step 1. Now, here's the trick. If you did a crappy job in step 1, you ain't getting to step 2, right? Step 1 material had to be quality. And if it's quality, then they'll trust you and they'll let you move on to step 2. All right. So, all right, I'm going to quickly read the comments before I keep moving. Alicia, you could always... Claudia, this is an excellent, excellent recommendation. Yes, guys, read Claudia's comment. I'm going to read it out loud because I think it's an excellent recommendation. Claudia says, Alicia, you could always get in touch with the venue and ask if they would mind you coming and taking some shots of the venue and doing a little Q&A with them about why couples should get married there. Give the venue use of the images if they recommend you. Also, yeah, perfect. Even though you've never shot there, you're now able to speak about that venue and more. You can even have a Q&A with the people that work there. So you're providing valuable information, even though you've never shot there. Claudia, this is exactly the way to go. Thank you, Leah. Yeah, I wasn't sure what was going on, but I'm realizing now what's going on. And that's why I asked that question. There's a huge lag between me and what you guys are seeing. Usually the lag is only about like 15, 20 seconds. It looks like I got a solid minute lag now. So it's very, very weird. Like I've already spoken about stage 2 or step 2, but I'm seeing on the screen, you guys are still looking at step 1. So yeah, I'm realizing there's a giant lag here. All right. All right, Claudia says, so Max, you wouldn't recommend. First of all, don't be sorry for all the comments. Claudia, I love this. That's why I'm doing Facebook Lives as opposed to just recording it on my own and posting it. I love that you're asking questions. You're making it so much easier for me to explain this by asking the questions. So please, please, please don't be sorry for all the comments and ask more, post more, because you're making it easier for me. Sorry, I know that sounds a little selfish. All right, so Max, you wouldn't recommend asking them for their email address in stage 1? Heck no. All right, Claudia, check this out. You're at a bar, enjoying a nice beer, a nice cold beer, and you're just sitting there, you've had a long day. No, you just shot a wedding, right? You shot a wedding, you're super tired, and you decide you're gonna grab a beer and just kind of watch TV from the corner of your eye. Not really even watching TV, you're just hanging out at the bar, kind of decompressing, having a beer. And then I walk into a bar. Now, mind you, you've never met me, you've never heard of me, you've never seen me. I walk up right to you, and without saying a word, I say, hey, can I have your phone number? Now, that sometimes works. And some guys do get a phone number that way, but it's quite rare. And I'm sure, Claudia, you would reaffirm that if I walked up to you out of the blue like that and said, give me your phone number, you'd probably be like, hold on a sec, let me go find my mace or pepper spray. That's the point here. Stage 1, you're walking up to them in the bar. They have no idea who you are. Do not ask for their email address. Now, will you get an email address at this stage? Yes, if you run enough ads, some people, a small percentage, will give you their email address. But you'll pay so much money for every email, and the quality of those emails will usually be quite low, right? So could you collect an email address at this stage? Yes, you could. Should you? No, you should not, because you have not built any value whatsoever at this point. So I would recommend not asking for anything. At this point, you just give, you don't take, nothing. The only thing you're taking from them is their time. You're taking a few minutes of their time to consume your material. All right, cool. Samantha says, is there any worry about attracting the wrong demographic, like people who are attracted and friends are usually done? Samantha, that's not true to say. I'm sorry, I know I'm kind of like straight up contradicting you, but to say that people who are attracted to free resources usually don't value things that cost money. That is absolutely not true. And here is why I'm going to prove it to you. You're here watching this free video. You did not pay a dime to watch it. And you are in the group for free. But I know you value things that cost money. I have no doubt. And how do I know that? Because you're an artist. And artists who pay their bills with their skills usually value other artists and other people who pay their bills with their skills. So despite the fact that you're consuming my free material, I have no doubt that you're valuing me as a creative, and that if time came right and I had a product that would satisfy a need for you, I have no question that you would buy it, even though you've spent a bunch of time consuming free stuff. Where I think people mistake it a bit is, yes, people like free stuff, but if your free stuff doesn't match your paid offer, that's where the disconnect happens. If you're giving away free iPads and then saying, oh, people are taking my free iPads and not inquiring for the weddings, well, that's because they want the iPad. And whatever you're giving away is irrelevant. But if your free stuff is relevant to what you are selling, then absolutely they will be interested. That's why your free material needs to be something that goes with their planning journey, as opposed to something out of place. It should also be in the right sequence and the right mindset, right? If you're trying to attract brides and grooms that have not yet booked a photographer, yet you're talking to them about choosing your cake, you're talking to them at a stage where their mindset is, it's too late. Brand new couples don't spend time choosing a cake. Usually couples that choose a cake have already booked a photographer. So that's where you will have that disconnect. But if you're giving them the right material at the right time, I would completely disagree that free material is something that is indicative of a person who is not willing to pay money. All right, hopefully that answers it. All right, Claudia says, I get it. Oh yeah, Claudia, that's different. Yes, at the end of every article, there should be a call to action. Now, right at the end of the article, asking for the email, maybe a tad early, you could try that. That's different. You're not asking it in an ad, and you're not asking it before you share the free material. You're asking it at the bottom. I don't think it would cause any harm, but I can also tell you your conversions would be quite low. Number one, most people don't read all the way to the bottom. Number two, even if they read all the way to the bottom, they're probably not ready to give it to you. But there's no harm in asking. Instead, I would use the area at the bottom for a call to action to the next article, right? Because that's what you would be doing with an ad in stage number two. So if you can get them there before the ad ever fired off, then you save yourself some money on the ads. That's what I would do at the bottom of the article. But yeah, you could also ask for an email address. All right. Samantha says, very true. Free resources then fine. Yeah, no, you're right. Listen, that's going to happen too. That happens to me all the time. You know, people reach out and they'll use my free resource and then they're like, oh, how much is your service? And I tell them and I'm like, oh, that's way out of budget. It happens. And that's okay. I'm happy I was able to help them for free. And I understand that it's out of their budget. No hard feelings. You know, the material already exists. It's already there for everybody. So like, I'm not going to, you know, hold it back, of course. All right. Let's see. All right. So I got, someone says, how do you recommend vetting your own information for quality? I feel like this is maybe, and, okay. Yeah. So the way I would recommend going about quality is asking friends is probably your best option. Asking, of course, if you can ask a professional writer to look at the quality, that would be even better. Again, guys, I'm sorry if you see me looking to the side, I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, asking a professional writer would be the best, but you don't have to do that. If you just have maybe 2 or 3 other photographers that you've kind of grown to be friends over time, and I'm assuming everybody's a photographer, but I know not everybody's a photographer in the group. But even if they're a different vendor, let's say you're friends with a florist and a bar, you know, and a mobile bar person owner. You know, when you've written your material, you can just reach out to them and be like, hey, do me a solid. Can you read this? Tell me what you think. You know, that's one option. Another option to ask people who are completely out of the industry. Ask your sibling, ask a friend, ask, you know, somebody who's outside the industry would be even better. But yeah, definitely it's a good idea to have somebody read it and tell you what they think. Simone, this is different. When you're running a giveaway and you have a question, would you like me to contact you? If they said yes, they've given you permission to contact them. That's different. Also with the giveaway, yes, you're running it to cold traffic and yes, they're giving you all that info. but they're giving it to you not because they trust you or like you. They're giving it to you because they want a very expensive prize. That's the problem with the giveaways. Now, they still work because if you are good at sales, you're going to be able to convert some of them. But a giveaway, as I always say to people, it's a tool in an emergency box. I normally don't run a giveaway unless I need to book something ASAP or like I need to drum up some business. Giveaways are, it's not like giving away an iPad, obviously, because you're giving an engagement session, but you're still giving away something that's not in line with them hiring you. So yeah, if they told you, a giveaway is a separate conversation. But if they told you that it's okay to contact them, yes, it's okay to contact them. But even then, notice that when you contact them, more than half of the people who said, yes, I want to talk, don't actually end up talking to you. So think about it. If you have 100 people said, yes, I want to talk, and only 30 or 40 get on the phone with you, what does that tell you about offering that at that stage? They're not ready. That's why so many people say yes and then don't do it. Right, exactly, Claudia. Yeah, that's the whole idea. You're reinforcing to them that you're an expert, which is why they're more likely to hire you, because they grow to like and trust you over time. All right, here. All right, so I'm going to jump back into my presentation and kind of keep rolling with it, and let's see. All right, so we were on step 2, and during this step, we had said that. By the way, I'm guessing you guys can. I'm going to go ahead and guess that you can see my my screen because I have the little green frame around it. But anyway, so in step 2, they're interested, but they are not all about you yet. Awesome, thanks, Carly. Yeah, so they're not all about you yet at this stage, but they are somewhat interested now. So they remember you exist, but not all the time. And this is your chance to bring them more in. So here I would give maybe a slightly longer article or a little bit more in-depth explanation, videos, but essentially it's the same format as you took in step 1. You're just repeating it again and again, maybe into just a little bit time commitment out of them. But don't go wild. Don't go from a 700-word article in step 2 to a 300-page book in step 1. You have a 700-word article in step 1, and then you go to a 300-page book in step 2, you're going to lose them. So you can make it a little longer, just increasing the time commitment, but you really want to stay within the same formats as you did in step 1, right? So they are not ready to buy yet. They're just kind of lower their guard, but they're still not ready to buy. All right, so next step is step 3. And in step 3, this is decision. So if you were looking at the traditional funnel of 3 steps, this would be your consideration step. Here, they're getting warm. They have now consumed quite a bit of your material. They know who you are. Even if you're not in front of their eyes, they're thinking about you. You are a viable option for their solution. And they know who you are if you communicate it well, and a lot of value in steps 1 and 2, right? So don't just like brush off steps 1 and 2 and give them crappy stuff. You really want to give good quality articles and good quality material in those steps, because that's where you're going to build up to step 3, right? So if you've done steps 1 and 2 well and communicated enough value and you were authentic and genuine and all of those things, then you are now in step 3 and they've come along with you. All right, so in this step, you're going to switch a little bit how you advertise, and you're going to invite them to start the sales process. Here's a good time to collect their email address. If it's appropriate to collect their phone number, you can collect their phone number here. You're not ready to sell them yet. You're transitioning them into the sales process. Here's a good time to give them something downloadable that they have to exchange information for. Here's a good time to remind them that you do sell things that cost money, but you're not selling yet. You're just transitioning them into the sales. This is also the step where they're going to make their decision. Right now in this step, they're going to decide whether they're hiring you or they're hiring somebody else. right? So the commitment level here is high. They're going to trust you with their information. They're deciding if they want to trust you with their special day. This is a high commitment place, right? So you use steps 1 and 2 to warm them up to be ready for this place. And then step 4, they're a hot lead and they're ready to buy. The goal here is to get them to sign a contract and give you a check. This is it. You've arrived at the promised land. It's time to sell. It's time to collect a check. And it's time to start calling that prospect or lead a client, right? So what kind of ads are you going to run here? Where you've given plenty of value and it's time to stop giving value and transition into positive reinforcement, social proof, add some personal touch. This is where they're going to submit the inquiry or they may have submitted it at the end of stage 3. This is where you're going to communicate to them directly via email. This is no longer automated emails. This is now you are talking to a specific individual, right? But notice a pattern from steps 1, 2, and 3 that's different here. Steps 1, 2, and 3, everything could have been pre-recorded. Everything is designed to appeal to the masses, not to one specific person. Whereas in step 4, they have now inquired with you. So now they're a specific person you're talking to. So canned emails are no longer appropriate. Mass marketing devices are no longer appropriate. Now it's time to transition into a one-on-one conversation. And this is obviously the highest commitment place because this is where they're going to part with some of their hard-earned money. All right, so these are the steps in the funnel. We've now spent about an hour just doing an introduction. Now we're gonna jump into Facebook and actually look, how do you move them along those steps? But before I do that, tell me if you have any questions, guys. I know I covered quite a bit, even though this was supposed to be just an introduction. So if you have any questions, shoot them at me right now before we jump into Facebook. All right. Okay, so where do you put people who give you their email address as a cold lead as part of an engagement giveaway? I put them at the very top. Simon, I put them at the very top because they did not give their email address trust or out of respect or out of anything like that. They're just giving it to you because they want the free engagement session. So I'm gonna put them right at the very top, stage 1. I'm gonna consider them a cold lead and I'm going to treat them as a cold lead. Now I have their email address, so I'm gonna save money on ads by sending them the same messages as I would through ads, but I'm gonna send those messages through the email because I wanna save on my budget. But the types of messages, the tone, and what I'm gonna say is not gonna change. It's gonna be the same thing. And perfect, if that's what you're doing good. All right, guys, so now let's talk about Facebook itself. Now with Facebook, there are 2 methodologies that I'm gonna cover here. How do you move them? One methodology is a conveyor belt. In other words, they're moving automatically, whether they like it or not. You are moving them along. The other methodology is self-moving. And they choose when to move from step to step. You don't choose it for them. Now, they're fundamentally different. So I'm covering both, and I want to explain how different they are fundamentally. I'm just going to quickly go to what Simone wrote because it's actually very important. She's saying, if they ask you to contact them about wedding photography, I'm nervous about scaring them away. You're absolutely right. You should be nervous. In your form, they said, contact me about our wedding photography. The problem is you don't know, did they say that to you because they think that if they say no, they're automatically disqualified? Did they say it just to appease you so they can win the giveaway? Or do they really mean, talk to us, we want to hire you for our wedding? That's the problem with giving away something so valuable up front. It works, but it's hard for you to decipher what are they saying to you. Are they saying, yes, we love you, we want to hire you? Or are they saying, yeah, we love you, but they're saying it just because they are trying to be nice and win the giveaway? You don't know, and you have to proceed very cautiously. Don't be aggressive about selling at this stage. Get them on the phone, obviously, if they told you, yes, call us, but be very cautious about how you talk to them. Try and keep it as low commitment as you can. Joanna, yes, there is a there's one under the units section where I show how to set it up. However, I don't explain all the psychology behind it. I just literally show you how to set it up. I've never done one where I explain the psychology behind those steps. And I think it's time that we have some of those in the group, where we talk about mindset more than the actual buttons to push on the computer, not on the person. I don't mean, when I say push buttons, I don't mean pushing somebody's buttons. I mean like Facebook buttons. Yeah, Joanna, I'm definitely going to do one on the psychology behind those steps. Okay, so looking at the audiences, there are two fundamental differences. One is you're moving them along the funnel. So you decide, okay, if you have been so long here, I'm going to just move you to the next step. The good thing about this is that for passive people, and there are people who are truly passive, they're not going to raise their hand and say, move me to the next step. You kind of just got to do it for them, but there's still going to be a body. So moving somebody along the conveyor belt by your decision will naturally bring more people to the finish line. However, the problem with this is that you're going to have a lot of people tag along that are useless leads for you. Kind of like when we talked about you running ads to a venue and people who are irrelevant are still seeing those ads. Like, for example, people who work at the venue. That's the same approach here. If you're moving everybody along the funnel automatically or by your decision, yes, you're going to get more people to the finish line, and yes, you will close more deals. You will book more weddings. However, you will also be spending a lot more money because you're showing ads to a bunch of people who don't care. So you're dragging along more people than you need. The other methodology is to let them move through the funnel when they decide. And I'll explain how that happens. The good thing about that is only people who are ready to move forward. So you're not wasting your marketing budget on people who are not ready. But the bad thing about it is you're going to have a much, much lower conversion rate. Less people are going to move forward. The question then becomes, well, did I want to have more people move forward if they weren't interested anyways? It's open for debate. There isn't really like an answer. One way is better than the other. What I'm going to tell you is what I did for myself. A/B test it. Try it this way and try it that way and see what works better in your, in your business. Because there's so many differences here. I have people that I work with who are in their early 20s and they're marketing to people who are 20, 21, 22. These people are going to fundamentally think different from somebody who is in their 40s, right? And I have people in the group who are marketing to people in their 40s. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. And unfortunately, there isn't a one-size-fits-all with marketing. It just doesn't work that way. So I'm showing you both ways because both are valid. And I want you to try both in your business and see which one brings you more revenue at the lowest possible spend, right? So you try moving them along yourself, and then try letting them move on their own and track your cost. How much did you spend on ads per booked wedding, and see which one works out better for you. All right, so how do we actually do that on Facebook? So number one, if you're moving them on their own, like they decide when to move, you're doing so with landing pages. That's the easiest way of doing it. And here's the logic behind it. And let me stop sharing so you can actually see my face. All right, so here's the logic behind it. Think about it this way. And I'm just going to kind of number the pages here as opposed to explain what they are, just for the ease of explanation. So let's say we're in step 1 of the funnel, right? We're at the very beginning of the funnel. We are in the awareness stage. And let's say that for the awareness stage, you have prepared 3 different articles, 3 different blog posts on 3 different topics. And let's call them articles 1A, 1B, and 1C, right? Because they're all belonging to stage 1. And then on stage 2, in that stage, on the intro stage, you've prepared 3 videos, just for example. And they don't have to be videos here and articles there. I'm just bringing up an example. So you've prepared 3 videos. So now you have video 2A, video 2B, and video 2C, right? And then on the 3rd stage, you have 2 more pieces of material, and on the last stage, right? So now you have all these different stages. How do you make them move along in their pace? Well, it's very simple. What you're saying is this. If I'm showing somebody an ad for article 1A and they click it and land on the page, then I'm going to stop showing them 1A and start showing them 1B. right? Because they've consumed 1A. And then when they click on 1B and land on that article, I'm going to stop showing them 1B and start showing them 1C, and so on and so forth. So essentially, they don't move to the next stage until they've clicked and landed on the article. Easy enough? That's essentially, if I click on an ad and land on an article, that's me raising my hand saying, hey, I'm ready to move to the next step. And so you move on to the next step, and you wait for them to click. And then you also give it a time limit. You're going to run the ad to them, let's say, for 2 weeks. And if within 2 weeks they haven't clicked and moved to the next step, you're going to move on. All right? And then you can come back and revisit them in a few months and see if maybe they're ready now. But that would be a way of moving them at their pace when they click on things. Does that make sense, guys? Tell me in the comments, what do you think? Does that make sense? Do you understand what I mean here? If you don't, ask me about it now before I show you how to do it. Simone, I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Pretty easy. Carly said, it makes sense. I just don't know how to do it. Yeah, I'll show you. That's easy. Cool. All right. So let's take a look at how to do that. That's pretty simple. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you my Facebook Ads Manager window. There it is. All right. So I kind of like want to make sure that you guys are seeing my screen. So tell me in the chat real quick, is anybody seeing? Oh, wait. Yep. Okay, cool. You guys can see. All right. I'm going to read Simone's question real quick. I have a side question. How do you test if your content is high quality or not? By asking real people. Take your piece of content, show it to 5 friends of yours, and have them be brutally honest with you. Just tell them that, look, I'm not looking for you to be nice to me. I want you to be brutally honest. Like, is this high quality? Are you enjoying it? Do you like it? Better yet, if you have engaged friends, have them look at it. You know, reach out to your past brides. Reach out to 3 past brides or grooms, you know, and ask them. Be like, hey, do me a solid. Like, I'm putting this out to help other couples. Could you look at it and tell me if you would have found it useful 6 months ago? And see what they say. Cool. Yeah. My favorite way to go about it is to ask couples. But I also understand there's a limit to how many times I can bother the same couple. And I only shoot 10 weddings a year. So I will like look at the material and decide how important it is to me. If it's a really important piece of material, I'll reach out to all 10 couples from last year. If it's semi-important, I'll reach out to only half of them. If it's not so important, I may just, you know, ask a photographer buddy, or I might even post it in the group and ask you guys. But yeah, that's how I would go about it. All right, so what we just said is that we're gonna move them along based on where they clicked, right? So we need to create audiences, right? So you're gonna come to Facebook. Claudia, yes, I absolutely do one-on-one coaching. If you send me a PM, send me a private message on Facebook, and I'll tell you all about it. But yes, I do one-on-one coaching, and that's actually my favorite part because we get to talk about it. I get to understand your business, and rather than giving you general examples, I will work through your actual company, through your branding, through your business to do it. But yeah, just shoot me a PM. All right, so we said that in step 1, we had 3 articles, article 1A, 1B, and 1C. Now, in reality, I know you're going to give them names, but for ease of explanation here, I'm just going to name them 1A, 1B, and 1C. So each one of those articles is a separate page on your website, or I'm calling them articles, but remember, those are blog posts. I'm specifically calling them articles to signify that they are full of text and not just a past wedding that you shot. All right, so you have those 3 articles or those 3 blog posts, and each one has their own URL address. So you're going to come to audience, asset library audience, and you're going to click on create a new custom audience, and you're going to say website traffic, right? And this is going to open up this new pop-up window. And here I'm going to say people who visited a specific web page. Now, I want to create a list of everybody who has visited my step 1 or article 1A page, right? And I'm going to use that list to decide who am I marketing to in stage 2 and who I am not marketing to in stage 2, right? These different lists. So I'm gonna also look at the days here. Now, Facebook allows me to go from 0 to 180. So far, so good. But think about it this way. Do I really want to bug somebody for the entire 6 months? Probably not. So what I want to do here is, if they have looked at Article 1A, when I advertise Article 1B, I want it to be still relevant, relatively close. So I'm going to go ahead here and change this to 14 days. So in other words, I'm running a cold ad. And when I say a cold ad, is my initial ad is, I'm not even showing you how to set it up here because we have a separate video on setting up an ad. I'm running that ad to strangers, right? I'm going to pick their age and geography, like location, and all of that stuff to bring those people to Article 1A. So the people coming into Article 1A are just strangers from Facebook. But then I'm going to create a list of everybody who has read Article 1A. And then I'm going to run ads for Article 1B, so still stage 1, but article number B, or letter B, second article. But I'm going to run those ads only to people who've landed on Article 1A before, because that tells me they're in my funnel. So I'm creating this custom audience of everybody who's read Article 1A. And I'm going to put the URL here. This is obviously not the correct URL. There is no URL like that, but I'm making it up. There you go. So there is my URL. And then I'm going to name it. So this is going to be funnel step 1, article A. All right. So this is a list of people who've been there and read it. I just want to be super clear. We're bringing fresh new people to that article. And once they land there, we're creating a list of those who have been there for the last 14 days. All right. Does this make sense? And do we have any questions about this before I keep moving forward? Guys, tell me in the chat. Makes sense. Okay, cool. So now realize what I have here. I have here a list of people right here. This is my list of people of everybody who has read Article 1A in the last 14 days. What am I going to do now? I'm going to go ahead and run ads to it. So I'm going to go to Ads Manager. I'm going to go to Ads Manager and I'm going to run an ad for Article 1B, but I'm only going to run it to this audience right here, right? That's the only audience I'm going to run it to. So think about it this way. From a perspective of a Facebook user, I come on Facebook and I see an ad from Chelsea that says, hey, here's an article about how to choose a venue. I'm like, oh, I need that. I'm about to choose a venue. So I click on it and I read her article. What has just happened is I've automatically been added to this list. So I'm going to log off of Facebook and go on about my day. And when I come back on Facebook tomorrow, I'm no longer going to see the ad for the venue. Now I'm going to see a new ad that says, hey, now that you've chosen a venue, how about let's talk about lighting, so you know where in that venue you want your ceremony set up, right? It's relevant and it feels like a conversation. Now, here's the trick here. And Chelsea and Simone, I see that you both have posted a question. I'm going to read it in one moment. I just want to finish this thought. So here's the trick here. In the first ad, I'm going to exclude this audience. Why am I excluding them? Well, I'm saying if you've already landed on that page and read that article, I no longer want to show you these ads, right? And how am I going to exclude it? Like this. And I'm going to show you because I want you guys to see it. There you go. Ads Manager. Okay, guys, just 1 second. I actually gonna start a new ad because I want to show you how you would do that. Come on. All right, so I'm gonna share a different screen so you can see what I'm talking about here. There you go. All right, so if I'm here and I'm choosing whatever, let's say traffic, that's less important at this point. And here where I'm setting up my my audience for my initial ad that leads to Article 1A that was about choosing a venue, here I would put Miami or Los Angeles. I would put the age and all that other good stuff. That's my supply of fresh people. But for Article 1B, I only want people who read Article 1A. So for Article 1A, I'm going a little bit backwards. If you've already landed on the article, I don't want you to keep seeing those ads because you've already seen them and read the article. So I'm going to click here, exclude, and then under exclude, I'm going to choose custom audience, and then I'm going to choose the audience I just created, funnel step 1A, article 1, article A, right? So what I'm telling Facebook is if somebody has been to that page, exclude them, right? Now, on my next article, article 1B, I am going to take this audience and I'm going to stick them right here because now I want to include them. I want to run ads to them about article 1B. All right, so I am running to a list of everybody who's seen article 1A, a new article about lighting. Now, because I've excluded them from the previous and included them here, to them it feels like they've progressed through a conversation. I hope this makes sense. And before I keep moving forward, I'm going to want you guys to ask more questions. But first, I know I have 2 questions in there that I need to go back to. So let's see. All right, so Chelsea says, so you would run a separate ad for 1A to get people to the article. 100% Chelsea. I would run a separate ad of bringing in brand new, fresh supply of people to article 1A. Simone is asking, will that audience continue to update? Is it a rolling 14-day? 100% Simone, it's a dynamic audience. So every day at midnight, it updates. So like when it updates, whoever has been for more than 14 days gets thrown out and new people come in. So 100% it's dynamic and it updates all the time. John, it's my pleasure. I'm happy that I could help. Then do you exclude all that visit 1A on that same ad? Right, exactly. Bingo. Chelsea, you're exactly on point. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to exclude article 1A from the ad for article 1A. So I'm excluding, if I'm running article 1A, so this is my ad for article 1A, right? So if this is my ad for article 1A, here I'm going to have all the parameters for my cold traffic, for my new people, and under exclude, I'm going to put the list I created. But if this was article 1B, now it's a different story. This is all going to stay blank. I'm not going to enter anything here whatsoever, and I'm just going to target article 1A list, right? So we've excluded it in the beginning, but now we're including it in step 2. Now, can anybody tell me on step 2, article 1B, what am I going to exclude here? Right here, if I'm including this, what am I excluding here? Carly, bingo. Yes. Yeah, article 1B, you're absolutely right. So if I am running article 1B ads and I'm running them to everybody who's seen article 1A, then here I'm excluding article 1B. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, so Simone is right. We're excluding article 1B. You're always, here's an easy rule of thumb. You're always going to exclude the current article and include the previous article. That's how you're moving them along the path, right? Because you've excluded the current one, once they land on this article, they will no longer see the ad. And because you've included the previous one, everybody who's seen the previous article will now see the ad. So you see how they're moving step by step? All right, so let's do one more. Okay, wait, Claudia has a question. All right, so question here about budgets. Claudia, the budget is a tricky question because you have to think of all your marketing as a whole and then decide how much you give out of your budget to each one of those parts. But generally speaking, like it really, it's really depends on the big picture. But generally speaking, I invest about 5% of my total income into marketing. So if for every $100,000 you make, you should be spending 5 on marketing, maybe 6 or 7, depends on your area. But this is my, it's not cast in stone. It's just what I do. I spend 5%. Most people would tell you to spend 10. I just think that if you're doing your marketing really well, you don't need to spend 10 to book some weddings. So I would spend 5%. But how are you going to distribute it between the actual articles? That's more up to you, because I don't know how many funnels you have running. Like if you have 17 funnels, clearly you're going to spend a little bit less per funnel. Whereas if you only have 1 funnel, you're going to spend more. Also, as you progress through the stages, your cost per conversion is going to increase. So the amount of money you're paying at stage 1 is going to be less than at stage 2. Why? Because there are a lot less people. Since there's a lot less people, cost per person is going to go up. That's just how Facebook works. Clearly on stage 1, you're marketing to everybody in South Florida, for example, so there's millions of people. But in stage 2, you're only marketing to people who have seen stage 1 article. So that's going to be what, 100 people, 300 people versus millions. So less people, more money per person. That's just how the cookie crumbles. That doesn't mean a lot more. Maybe on stage 1, I'm spending $1 a day. And on stage 2, I'm spending $1.25 a day. And on stage 3, I'm spending $1.50 a day. So I'm not like going crazy. I'm just increasing it by 25 cents or so. And also as you run, you're going to see, like, am I hitting everybody I need to hit, or am I just not having enough volume? Yes, Carly, they will let you run even if it's really, really small, because you are retargeting people on pages and there is a fresh new person every day. Facebook doesn't want you targeting just one person, but if they see that it's a funnel and fresh new people come on every day, then yes, they will let you target even if there is a very small number of people. But also, for this to be effective, you do want to be getting at least 75 to 100 people a day on your funnel at the very upfront. And that's not a lot of money. When you're running cold traffic ads, you should be spending about, half a penny to a penny per new person, per impression. And for clicks, you'll be spending, you're trying to show your ad to about 100 people a day. And from those 100, maybe you'll have a conversion rate of 2 to 3%. So 2 to 3 people will click and start moving through the funnel. But you'll have 2 to 3 new people every single day. So that compounds pretty quickly. Yeah, cool. All right, so all right, one sec. Claudia is saying, would it be better to have one different funnel per month? For example, if I'm I wouldn't do that. Not why I wouldn't do that, because it's a lot of work to build a funnel, and to build a whole funnel just to use it for a month. To me, it sounds like building a whole house just so you can live there for a month. Sounds like a lot of work for just a little bit of a reward. I wouldn't get rid of a funnel every month. What I would do, if you want to have multiple funnels, is build one, and then when it's running on its own, then you can start building a second one and then a third one. But don't just get rid of a funnel after a month. A funnel should stay good for at least a year, sometimes 2 or 3. Obviously, it depends on the topic you're writing about. Just to give you an example, if I'm writing education about the stock market, that education expires pretty quickly because the stock market changes every day. But if I'm writing education about selecting a venue for your wedding, that education can live for much longer because venues don't change every day. It's like more or less the same day over day. So yeah, you may need a new funnel a year later because some venues have closed, new venues have opened, whatever. But you certainly don't need a new funnel every month on topics that are slow moving like this, like planning your wedding. Do you run these year round, or do you turn them off depending on the season? Simone, I turn them off when I'm fully booked, because ain't no sense to run ads if you're fully booked. So Yeah, once you're fully booked, turn them off. Or if you're near fully booked and you feel like you're going to be able to, like, let's say, just for example, let's say you want 35 weddings for the year and you're at 31 and you kind of feel like your referrals, are going to give you the other four, maybe it's time to turn them off so you can get the other four for free. But no sense of running ads if you can't take on weddings if you're fully booked. All right, so that's how we move them along for them to raise the hand. Essentially, by them clicking on the ad and landing on the page, they raise their hand, right? So that's option number one. The other option that I was talking about is moving them by time. And moving them by time is they're not raising their hand. When is that useful? That could be useful if you're putting out material that doesn't allow them to raise their hand or is not providing that opportunity to raise their hand. For example, here's one easy example. One of the things that I like to do to reassure them that I'm good at what I do is when they're very, very warm, essentially they're at the end of my funnel, I like to show them ads that show reviews of other couples. And it's really basic. I just put a photo of a couple and then I'll copy paste the actual review right above it. In fact, I completely copy paste, even if it has spelling errors or whatever, I don't change it because I want them to see the review in its original form, right? And then I'll use emojis to put the stars if it's 5 stars or whatever. But it'd be kind of boring if they logged into Facebook and every day saw the same review. So I like to mix it up and have them see different reviews. And the way you can do that is by moving them through the funnel based on time. So you're going to be like, wait, what does that even mean? Well, here's an example. Let's say that I have articles 1A, 1B, and 1C in stage 1, and then I have articles 2A, 2B, and 2C in stage 2, and then I have articles 3A, 3B, and 3C in stage 3, and then they get to stage 4. And in stage 4, I want to reinforce by showing them some reviews. What do I know about them? I know about them that to get to stage 4, they had to land on article 3C, right? 3C is my end of stage 3 and my gateway to stage 4. Does that make sense, guys? Tell me what you think if that makes sense to you. Cool. All right, so here comes the trick of time. Now that I know that they've landed, on article and I'm ready to show them reviews of stage 4, which are just going to be, in this case, reviews of other couples. I'm going to base it on time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create multiple audiences of that specific page, but I'm going to create one for 1 day, for 2 days, for 3 days, for 4 days, for 5 days, for 6 days. I'm going to go ahead and create them for 10 days, right? And it doesn't have to be 10. It could be 7. It could be 14. 10 days is a number I picked because it sounds reasonable, right? I believe that when I've brought them all the way to stage 4, I should be able to book them within 10 days, right? And if I can't, I'm going to tone it down a bit and let them breathe. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that article 3C and I'm going to create an audience of 1 day. Then I'm going to create a new audience of 2 days, then a new audience of 3 days, then a new audience of 4 days. And I'm going to do it so on and so forth until I have one audience every single day until I get 10 days. Simone is asking, do you just link your home page when you do the reviews? No, I don't. What's the goal at the sales stage? Do I want them to go to my website? No, they've been to my website. There's nothing for them to do there. I want to talk. That's the stage where I want us to communicate. So I will either link it to my Calendly so they can book a phone call, or I will do a messenger ad that allows them to just click the button and start talking to me via messenger, or I will just literally bring them to, I want us to start talking. So I will literally make a phone call ad where they can click it and call me. But I want, that's the time to talk. It's not the time to bring them to yet another web page. So all of these will, I like Calendly. It has been working wonders for me. But also I like chat. I like them to click and be able to start chatting with me. All right, cool. So let's look at how I create those audiences. I'm going to share Facebook with you one more time. All right, let's see. All right, awesome. So I'm gonna do website traffic. Sorry, that's the right link. I'm sorry, so meant to say that's the right pixel. I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna do www.maxatic.com/article. I did it wrong. Article 3C. All right, so that's my link. That's the URL I'm gonna keep referring to. But what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna put 1 day, and I'm gonna save it as 1 day. All right, there you go. Created the audience. Then I'm gonna come back and create one more. Again, same settings, same URL, only here I'm gonna do 2 days. And I'm gonna write 2 days. And I'm gonna create a third one for 3 days. All right, so I did something wrong here that it's not creating it. I don't know if it's the name. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. It's been acting weird. But it's supposed to. Yeah, something is not right with Facebook right now, but normally it works, it creates it. So something is just wrong right now. But essentially I'm gonna create one like this for every one of this. Yeah, and it's weird, it just created it right here and then it wouldn't do it again. So let's try one more time. If not, it's okay. You get the point and we can still keep rolling with this. 2 days. Let's try this. No, still not working. Yeah, I don't know what the problem is, but the bottom line is that I'm trying to create one for each one of the days. Now, when I'm going to create the ads, yeah, it's a lot of work, which is why I don't recommend getting rid of the funnel after 1 month. Like this is an all-day thing, right? You've written all your articles, uploaded them. Just to set this up is going to take you 4, 5, maybe 6 hours, right? So once you've set it up, you want to let it run for months. You don't want to have to break it down and redo every month. That would be like rebuilding your website every month, right? Your website is a lot of work, but you don't go ahead and rebuild it every month. I hope so. And this is the same. You build the funnel one time, and yeah, it's exactly like building a house. It's like building a website. You're gonna build it. You're gonna put all the time in. You're gonna invest a day, maybe 2 days, but then you're gonna reap the rewards for months. I would leave the funnel alone for a year, maybe for 2. You know, if a year later nothing has changed, all the same venues are still open, everything is still the same, why tear it down? Remember, for you it's an old funnel. It's been for a year, but for the new couple, it's a new funnel. They weren't engaged a year ago. They have had no idea who you are. So while it's old for you, it's new for them, and they are the ones who have the checkbook. So why would you rebuild it? Now, if you have time on your hands and you are itching to build more funnels, don't tear that one down. Just build a second one, targeting slightly different audience, and yet a third one targeting slightly different audience to kind of expand rather than tearing down the old and building the new. All right, so now that you have all these audiences, how do you, this is what I'm gonna do just to make it easier. I'm gonna go ahead and rename this one. Let's see if this is gonna let me even do that. Oh, it did. Okay. So now that I have these 2 audiences, and obviously you'd have like 10 of them, when I'm building my ads, this is how it would look. Same exact idea here as we did before, only here it's based on time. So if I'm on review number 1, then I'm going to do, let's say, include. Oh, I have to. Sorry, guys, I gotta refresh this window because Just so you know, if you're building an ad and then you go create a new audience and come back, it's not going to show up in Ads Manager. You have to refresh the page. There you go. Now it should come up. All right, so if I'm moving them based on time, right? So I'm including, just for example, I'm including day one, and I'm excluding the previous stage 3 article, right? So the one that they just read, I'm excluding it. But if I'm going to the next one, to day 2, I'm going to select day 2 here, and then I'm going to exclude day 1, right? So now what's going to happen, people on day 1 have seen review of Amy and Jack, and then because they get excluded, and now they're on day 2, they're going to see a review of Jessica and Michael, for example. Make sense? All right, guys. Tell me if you understand what I just explained, or if you have any questions, because I know that's kind of like I kind of put it out there really quick. Thanks, Claudia. Yeah, I know it's a little daunting, which is why one of the things I do that helps me, and you may try it, like check it out, see if that helps you as well. I don't jump right into building my funnel. I take a piece of paper and I draw it literally with like a pencil or a pen. So what you can do is literally draw like ad number 1, article 1A, and right next to it, who's going to see it. Then draw a line and be like article 1B, who's going to see it, who's going to be excluded. So you're essentially drawing the funnel step by step by step by step. Yeah, that helps me a lot, because then when I go to implement, I now have a drawing of what I need, and it acts as a checklist for me of everything I need to build. All right, Simone says, this is a technical question, but do you have to create a new ad set each time, or can you do inside? No, you'd have a new ad set each time, because the ad set dictates which audience are going to see it. So if you're changing an audience from ad to ad, then you need a new ad set every time, right? Because on this one, you're going to target article 1A, and on the next ad set, you're going to target article 1B and exclude 1A. So you need a new ad set every step of the way. All right, Claudia said, that's a great visual idea. I have to work in things I can see. Ads Manager is my worst. Yeah, Claudia, me the same. Like, I need a visual representation, which is why I draw it. If you want to get fancy, you can use online. There's a website called draw.io. It's completely free. It's not even a trial. It's like free forever. And you can draw diagrams in there if you want them to be pretty. When I do it for a client, like let's say a photographer hires me, I will go into draw.io and I make it look nice. If I'm doing it for myself, I don't want to waste time. I literally take a piece of paper and a pen and I draw it, and it looks ugly like a chicken scratch, but nobody ever gets to see it anyways. It's just my work notes. But that's what I do. Yeah, Simone, the difference between an ad set and an ad is this. An ad set determines who is going to see the ad, when they're going to see it, how much money you're going to spend, and where are they going to see it, what placement. Whereas the ad level doesn't determine any of that. Instead, it determines what image they're going to see, or what video, what text are they going to read. So your ad level is the design of the ad. The ad set is the back-end settings. Hopefully that makes sense. It's not really the way they put it, but that's essentially what it is. Simone, they're not better set up for anything at Facebook. I sometimes wonder if the people at Facebook have made it this complicated on purpose, just for fun, and they're sitting there in headquarters looking at us struggling, trying to build it all, and just like betting on us and making fun of us. I agree with you 100%. None of it is intuitive. It is horrible user experience. And I wish that Facebook would hire Apple to help them design the experience, because then we would all have ease of use. But as you probably already noticed, Facebook and Apple don't play along nice. So we're probably doomed to forever having a horrible user experience on Facebook. It is what it is. All right, Claudia has two different ad accounts, and I have no idea how. It's so confusing. I had 3. Okay. So number one, if you have ad accounts that you don't use, you should just deactivate them. If you're never going to use an ad account again, just deactivate it. So that way you don't have this confusing situation. But yeah, it gets confusing when you have multiple accounts. But remember, anywhere you are, like within the Facebook Ads Manager ecosystem, you have a drop-down box where you can select the right account. Just what's confusing about them, they're just numbers. But if you go into settings, you can give a nickname. You can give a nickname to every account. Just give them nicknames that you're going to remember. Like for me, for example, I have a separate account for education, get a separate account for photography, and a third account only for my online course. Why do I have 3 separate accounts? Where education and photography make sense, and my online course is in partnership with another person, so it's a separate credit card, separate account. So I have 3 ad accounts, but I don't go by the number. I actually name them. So they're named photography, education, and wedding hackers, which is the online course. So when I see the name, I know right away if I'm working on the right account. Now, have I ever built the ad in the wrong account and then realized right before I set it free? Yes, I have done that. I've been really mad. I cussed, I yelled, I walked away from the computer because yeah, you're putting like 2 hours worth of work and then you're like, oh crap, I just did all of it in the wrong account. It happens. Just, you'll do it once, you'll be really mad for wasting an hour of your time, and then you will never do it again. That's what happened to me. All right, Claudia says, I think that's how I managed to create them because I tried to have 2 different pixels. Yeah, we all been there. It happens. Like, again, bad interface, bad user experience. Trust me. The marketing community has been screaming that at Facebook for years now. Facebook just doesn't seem to do much about it. Now, just so you guys know, most of you probably have not seen it yet, Facebook does have a new interface. Johanna is probably the only one on this call who have seen the new interface because she's already been upgraded to it. I've seen, so right now, because I manage so many different accounts for myself and for clients, some of my accounts on the new interface, about 10%, the other 90% are still on the old interface. The new interface does seem a little bit more user-friendly. It's still far away from being perfect, but I have high hopes for it. It does seem that it's a bit better. Joanna says it's just as confusing. Yeah, it's very confusing. It's a little bit prettier in my opinion, but it's not a good quality user experience, unfortunately. So, yeah. All right, guys. What else? Are there any other questions about everything I just showed you? Since there's no comments, I'm going to take it as a no. Cool. All right. So if there is, Chelsea, you're so welcome. I'm happy that you were able to be on this call. So obviously there's going to be a recording as always. I'm going to see about stitching the 2 halves of the presentation into one video. Hopefully I'm going to be able to do that. I think it shouldn't be a problem. And then I'll post it, probably be a couple of days, especially since I need to set aside time to stitch the videos together. But there will be a recording so you guys can rewatch it, and definitely ask questions on the recording, like in the comments, as you're building this if you run into problems. But always remember, you don't want to be bombarding the same person with the same ad. You want to move them along from audience to audience to keep showing them new ads so it feels like a conversation. Just visualize this from a couple's point of view. Imagine that you are a bride and you get on Facebook and you see an ad that says, hey, I wrote this article about how to choose a venue. And you're like, oh, nice, I need to choose a venue, I'll read it. You click on it and you read the article. And it was interesting. And then tomorrow you come back on Facebook and you see an article that says, and by the way, don't make it tomorrow. Like you don't want, in the beginning of the funnel, you don't want to hit them every day. But let's say next week I come back on Facebook and there is an article from you that says, now that you've chosen a venue, let's talk about, where in the venue or how your ceremony is going to be set up so that you're not squinting through the entire ceremony with having the sun in your eyes. So that's article number 2. And then I come back on Facebook the next week, and all of a sudden I see an ad from you that says, here's here's an article I wrote about this. So on my end of things, that's going to feel like a conversation. I'm hearing everything new, something new every day. It's similar to how you would do an email sequence, but without having their email. So I hope this was helpful, guys. Yeah, feel free to ask questions. Oh, there you go. Chelsea has a question. How do we space the ads out so it's not every day they get? Same idea. When you run your ads, you can specify when the ad starts, when it stops, how many times they see an ad per certain number of days. It's all in the settings of the ad set when you're setting that up. And there is a video in the units that shows and explains every button. It literally, I think, is called Let's Explain Every Button in the Ads Manager, and it's in that video. Word of caution for you, Chelsea, the video is 3 hours long. So if you're gonna watch that video, definitely set aside like a bunch of time, make yourself some popcorn, get a glass of wine, or maybe 2 glasses of wine. It's a long video. It was so long, I actually had to stop in the middle of the video, like, guys, I'm sorry, I gotta go use the restroom. That's how long it was. Yeah, Claudia, I would say watch all of those videos. There's a lot of information in there. And as you watch them, have a notepad next to you and start writing down how you want your funnel to look. Because as you watch every video you watch, you get other ideas. It's a good idea to jot down your ideas about what you want to do. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. We've been on this for about almost 2 hours now. It's been 1 hour and 45 minutes. So I'm going to wrap it up. I love you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this live. It makes it so much easier for me because it's so weird to just talk to a camera without having people. So I really, really appreciate you being here and hanging out with me for almost 2 hours. All right, guys, have an awesome day.